sometimes the yarn wants what the yarn wants.
Not the most elegant solution ever. I don't feel bad about getting my spit on it. Hello and welcome to the Faded Wildflower Crochet. My name is Rachel, and I usually have some sort of hook for these garment making videos, like I am making a cardigan with yarn from the Dollar Tree only, or I am making a cardigan with TikTok advice like I did with this one. Or I'm making a cardigan with Dollar Tree yarn again, but I have no such hook for this video. I really just want to make my perfect fall cardigan, and I want to take you along for the process. Honestly, I have been a little bit stressed lately, as I know many of us have been, and the last two videos that I filmed did not go very well. So I really want to lean into the meditative aspect of crochet and just enjoy this process. And I really want this video to be just super cozy. I mean, I feel like all of my videos are cozy, but I want this one to be aggressively cozy. So cocoon yourself in a blanket, light a candle, take a deep breath, grab whatever project you're working on, and let's get started. So my plan for this cardigan is actually to completely freehand it in the same way that I freehanded this cardigan right here, which if you haven't watched this video, I made it with TikTok advice, but essentially it's just rectangles sewn together in a fun stitch pattern. And this is by far my most worn piece that I have ever made. So I really want to kind of repeat that process, except for this time, I definitely want to make it long sleeves. And the yarn that I have is this Hobie Tea Time yarn, which if you watched the video where I did the Hobie mystery bag, you'll know that I had problems with my Hobie order. And so they ended up just giving me store credit. And with that credit, I ended up buying 3 skeins of this. I originally wanted one of the Halloween colorways. I don't remember the name of it, but I'll put it on the screen. It was pinks and purples, but they were all sold out of that one. So I bought this one instead, which is still pinks and purples. There's also some blues and like, I don't know, would you call that orange or peach maybe? Are these the most traditional like fall Halloween colors ever? Definitely not, but I still think that they're really pretty and are gonna make a really gorgeous cardigan. So this is the color 19. I'm not sure if it has a name. I feel like Hobies are all like numbers for their colors, but they have names too, maybe on the website. I'm not sure. I'll throw it on the screen. But if you haven't ever seen Tea Time, it is kind of, again, I always mix this up, but I think that this is roving or single ply. I don't know. You guys will correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't actually tried this at all, so I hope that I like it, but I've seen some other people make projects in this yarn and it always looks really good. And this stitch pattern that I want to do is what I made this little hat out of, which is essentially just 1 row of single crochet, 2 rows of half double crochet, and then a row of mesh stitch, which is still hard for me to say, but I don't know if this has an official name. I sort of just made it up when I made this hat, but I think it looks really good. But before I just dive in and start working on it, I am going to use this cardigan as the measurements because I love the way this one fits. But before just diving in, I think I am going to make a little swatch just to see if I like the way this variegation looks in this stitch. And I also want to kind of experiment with what hook size I'm going to use. So that is the first step. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. If this is the first video that you're watching of mine, I forgot to say in the beginning that I do have a naturally scratchy voice, but it's not normally quite this scratchy. I am getting over a cold, but that's even more of a reason to do a nice relaxing video for a change. I did use this 5 millimeter. This is the BWA hook. I just love the way this one feels in my hand. I think the stitch pattern looks pretty good. Now I did mess up because you're supposed to do an even amount of stitches and I accidentally did an odd amount of stitches, but that's okay. We can fix that in the full piece, but I think it looks pretty good. I actually think that looks amazing. Now, this is looking very pastel from just this swatch. There are some darker like purplish blues in there. So we will get to that eventually, but regardless, I think this is so pretty. The texture is so nice and soft. I didn't have any problems with this so far. However, I have heard that this yarn's a little bit hard to frog, so let's try it out. So far, so good. Ooh, a little snagging there. Oh, I think there's some of my hair in there, or that's maybe Lily's hair, actually. I don't know what that was. But, yeah, it is snagging on itself a bit. This yarn does tend to want to snag on itself, this type of yarn. So it's not frogging the easiest, but it's frogging. It is possible. So I'm going to finish frogging this, and then I'm actually going to go take a shower or even possibly a bath, since this is a nice relaxing video. Not that I'm going to show you that, but I'm going to go get myself clean, and then I'm gonna come back and start actually working on the sweater. This is frogging. It is just a little difficult, but it's going.
Well, you guys, it is the next day and I've already been through it with this cardigan. I actually started over a couple of different times just because I was having trouble getting the sizing right. And then I realized that my piece was not as stretchy as I wanted it to be, even though I did go up a hook size for the chain and then go down a hook size for the main body of it. And that helped last time, but for some reason this time it wasn't really helping. And so what I ended up doing was working into the back bumps, which I will leave a tutorial if you've never heard of this before. I hadn't heard of it until like a few months ago, and I'm not even going to try to explain it because if I do, it's not going to make any sense. But it does help add a nice amount of stretch to your piece. And so I had already gotten like a few rows in when I realized that my piece didn't have enough stretch. So I started over, I think maybe 3 times on this thing. And then I got a few rows in, and as I showed you in the clips, I just really was not liking the way that the colors looked. And I realized that for most of the pieces that I had seen worked in tea time, they were made with granny clusters. And I really did not want to do granny clusters again, because I've made, of course, a lot of hexagon granny cardigans. I made a sweater entirely in granny stripes. So I wanted to do something different for this. But I started over with the granny stripes, and I like the way that it looks so much more. I did show my Discord, and the opinions were actually mixed. Some people liked the original stitch pattern that I was doing better, and then some people liked the granny stripes better. I personally like the granny stripes better, so I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take this entire thing out. Of course, it's not that far. I would rather correct it now and, you know, then getting like a whole panel in and realizing that I don't like it. I really didn't want to do granny clusters again just because I thought that maybe it would be boring for you guys to watch. But the truth is, I actually love doing granny clusters. I mean, it's a classic for a reason. And I mean, sometimes the yarn wants what the yarn wants, and I can't help that, okay? But yeah, it just, to me, it just looks, it doesn't look terrible in the original stitch pattern, but I just prefer the way it looks with the granny clusters, and I want to make a piece in the end that I'm happy with. So I'm going to start over.
Okay, you guys, it is the next day and I am not sure how to feel about my hair today. I actually properly dried it like with a diffuser. I usually just kind of let my hair do whatever. But I'm not really sure how to feel about it, but whatever, that's besides the point. What I am sure how to feel about is the back panel of this sweater. I mean, look at it. I mean, we were off to a little bit of a rocky start, but now I love it. It is so gorgeous. Again, I am measuring it against this sweater right here so that I can make sure that it's the right size. And as I was comparing these two, I kind of realized that they're pretty similar in a lot of ways. So, in terms of the way that they're dyed, it is just kind of almost like a watercolor type look, if you know what I'm saying. And that's kind of how this one is too. It's like not necessarily stripes, but I don't know. I love that type of variegation where it's just, what do you even call that? I don't know. I always want to say watercolor, but I think it's very beautiful. So that is similar. And also the texture of these two is very similar. And that's a good thing because, again, this is my most worn sweater. So the fact that they feel similar is great because this is just such a nice texture on the skin. Now, this one is, I think, is it 50% acrylic, 50% cotton, something like that. This one is purely acrylic, and then this one is the like chain construction, whereas this one is, again, roving. I'm not sure if that's the correct term. And this type of yarn does have different thicknesses throughout. So sometimes it's thicker and sometimes it's thinner. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about that, but honestly, I'm loving this yarn so far. The one thing that's a bit tricky about it, which was kind of tricky about this one too, is that it's hard to frog, which I think I showed myself frogging in one clip. And I wasn't sure I was going to be able to frog that entire section that I did without it ripping, but I did. I did do it. It was just, I had to be a little bit more careful than normal, which I feel like I find that yarns like this that snag a little bit, which again, this one does as well, are less annoying to me than something that splits. Yarn that splits is like my pet peeve. But I know for some people they don't like yarn that snags. This does, but it really doesn't bother me that much as I'm working on it every now and then. But it does kind of want to like stick to itself when you're trying to frog it. So again, you just have to be a little bit careful. Just something to note about this yarn. Something else to note about this yarn is, again, this is the entire back panel. I still have this much left of the first skein, and I still have 2 more skeins, which is crazy. I think, is there like 600? Let me see. 634 yards. So yeah, this is like quite the chunky boy skein. And so I'm going to have probably a decent amount of this left over. We'll see. I am doing long sleeves, so I'm not sure how much yarn that is going to take up, but I'm absolutely loving this. So there you go. I am going to start working on the front panels, but first I thought it would be fun to try some snacks that I got from Five Below. So I've talked about this before, that my daughters and I love nothing more than to go to Five Below and just find like interesting snacks to try. We actually tried the, I think it's called Hello Panda or something like that last night. It's essentially a little cookie with chocolate on the inside. They loved it. I liked it, but I wish there was just like a little bit more chocolate to cookie ratio. Personally, I like the Choco-Rooms better. But anyway, I wanted to originally just find only fall snacks, but this was the only like fall Halloween one I was interested in. But I also saw this, which is the Selena Gomez Oreos, which I've seen some other people try. It is supposed to be cinnamon cream on the inside. So I thought, why not try it and see how I feel about it? Because I love cinnamon. Okay, let's try it. Okay. At first I wasn't sure, but no, I like that. That's really good. Yeah. That's really good. I'm going to eat the rest of this real quick. I'm trying to think of what that reminds me of, but I can't think of anything that reminds me of. The closest thing that I can think of is when I make my own pumpkin cookies every fall, and I make the icing in white chocolate and I put cinnamon and like cloves and all that in the frosting itself. It kind of tastes similar to that, which, hey, I think it's pretty good. So I think these are like a limited edition thing though, so I'm not sure that I could ever buy them again, even if I wanted to. But those are really good. If you see them, give them a try. I don't know why this is becoming like a snack review channel, but then I have these right here, which are Kit Kat Ghost Toast, which I have no idea what that means. What does Ghost Toast even mean? Like, what flavor is that? Oh, it does say on the side here. I'm just now realizing, literally just now in this moment, realizing that it says cinnamon toast flavored right here. I was trying to find what flavor this was because all I saw was Ghost Toast. I kind of assumed it would be like a cinnamon toast, but it didn't say that, but it does say that right there. Anyway, let's try it. I guess we're trying another cinnamon thing. I do love cinnamon, so that gives me a lot of hope for these. Also, why are they orange? I would expect something called Ghost Toast to be white. I don't know. All right. I don't know. I'm not getting cinnamon toast. It sort of just tastes like white chocolate, which I like white chocolate. Yeah, I'm not really getting cinnamon toast. After trying the Selena Gomez ones and how cinnamony those are, these are not very cinnamony. They're not bad. They literally just taste like white chocolate to me. So I don't know. Probably won't ever get those again. Anyway, I am going to go work on the front panels of this sweater, but I think tomorrow I am going to go to a bookshop. It's a brand new bookshop in town I just found out about. So I think I'm going to go there and then maybe go to the park and take a little walk and then crochet at the park. That sounds really relaxing if we're focusing on like a nice, cozy, relaxing vlog. But anyway, it's going well so far. I will check in with you guys in a little bit. So you may think based on that last montage that I just showed that I had a lovely relaxing time at the park, but you would be wrong. So mostly it was because my throat is still quite scratchy and I was coughing, which means that I had to drink a lot of water, which means that I had to go to the bathroom a lot, and using the park bathroom is just not the most fun experience ever. And it was just like hard to get comfortable, and I was sitting on a bench that was in the shade, but then it suddenly wasn't in the shade and the sun was in my eyes. It was a whole thing, but I tried to make the best of it, but I was like, I'm just going to go home. And so that wasn't a very cozy experience, but what was a cozy experience was watching Wednesday for the first time. I've been sitting here, I think I've watched the first 3 episodes now, and I really like it. I don't know what took me so long to finally watch it, but I'm really enjoying it. I have heard that season 2 is not as good as season 1. Let me know if you think so. I fear that I'm more of an Enid than a Wednesday when it comes to my aesthetic, at least most of the time. Despite my best efforts to be emo in high school, I don't think I ever really pulled off that aesthetic. I would put a picture on the screen, but I feel like I don't have any of those photos anymore. They got deleted along with MySpace, but that's probably for the better. I was really hoping to have all 3 panels done before I did this check-in, but time got away from me. I am almost done with this second front panel. I have maybe like 8 or 9 more rows left. I'm not exactly sure, but it's still going really well. Now, it is Friday right now as I'm filming this, and it's almost time to go get the kids from school. And on the weekends lately, I haven't been crocheting, not because I don't want to, but because it's good for my hands to take a little break. So this weekend, I am going to be having a nice, just calm, relaxing weekend. I bought a new puzzle. I really love the puzzles from the Magic Company. I think I've talked about that before, and I just got a new one, so I'm going to be doing that. I might be doing some coloring. I told my younger daughter that we could make some snickerdoodles, so that is the plans for the weekend. But for the rest of today, I'm hoping to at least get this front panel done and then maybe at least get it sewed together and then start on the sleeves. We'll see what all I can get to today. But that is the update. It's going so well. I really, really love how this is turning out. I think it's going to be so beautiful. So that's my update, and I will see you guys after my what is hopefully a nice cozy weekend. Hello, you guys. It is Monday, and unfortunately, I didn't get to as many cozy activities as I wanted to over the weekend. But the truth is, I'm still feeling a little bit sick. I'm having a really hard time getting over this cold or whatever is going on. It might be time to go to the doctor. I don't know, but I was just trying to rest and recover. And I did finish my entire puzzle, which was really fun. And I watched all of season 1 of Wednesday, and I am now on season 2, and I'm really, really liking it so far. And I'm absolutely obsessed with Enid's snoods that she makes, and now I have to make one. I have to make a replica. I don't know how I never saw those going around the internet. I kept seeing people recreate Wednesday's outfits, but I hadn't seen anyone recreate Enid's snood, and now I have to. I need to make one. Another thing that I did over the weekend was watch Michelle Jasik's new video, and she was actually working with the exact same yarn that I'm working with in this video, and she actually got the color that I originally wanted, which is so funny. And seeing hers, it looks amazing, but I'm actually kind of glad I ended up with the color that I did, just because I feel like it's a little bit more me. Hers turned out like a little bit darker, and I think she even said that in her video, that in the end, like in the end project, it looked a little darker than it did in the skein, and I kind of agree. And so again, I know that this is not the most fall-like color palette, but it's definitely my color palette. So I'm glad in the end that I ended up with this one. But one thing that she talked about in her video that I was gonna highlight in mine is that this yarn is quite hard to sew with. So whenever you're sewing with it, let me show you this strand here. It just wants to start coming apart as soon as you put any sort of friction on it. It becomes like really unmanageable. Now, she took a different strand of yarn to sew her pieces together, which is a smart thing to do. I was stubborn and didn't really want to do that. And so what I ended up doing, which this is kind of gross, but I would just get a little bit of spit on my finger and then just kind of like wind it back up. And that worked for me. Again, not the most elegant solution ever, but you know, whatever works. And this is my cardigan, so I don't feel bad about getting my spit on it, which is a weird sentence that I just had to say. But anyway, let me actually show you how far I got on this cardigan. Hold, please. Okay, maybe not the best camera angle to show you, but I did finish all of this sleeve, and I did the little cuff. I haven't sewn it together yet, but that is what the sleeve is looking like. I didn't do any decreases on this one. So when I did the granny stitch sweater that I made, I tapered the sleeves just so that they would be tapered all the way down. I didn't do that with this one. Since the armhole was the appropriate size on this one, I just crocheted all the way down, and then I just did the cuff here, and I'm doing like quite chunky cuffs because I really like the way that looks. And if you're wondering how I do the sleeves as well, I do just crochet right into the holes that I left there and just crochet the sleeve on. I know some people like to sew their sleeves on, but I feel like crocheting it on, it looks pretty good. It looks pretty seamless there. I mean, you can obviously tell because the direction, excuse me, ma'am, are you okay? Lily is sighing. You can tell obviously because of the direction of the granny stitches, but in terms of it, like sometimes when you sew sleeves on, or at least in my experience, it just doesn't line up quite as nicely. And maybe that's just a me problem, but I do prefer to just crochet my sleeves right on like that. And yeah, I think it's turning out pretty well. I got a little bit done on this sleeve here. So all I need to do now is finish this sleeve. And then I think for the ribbing, I'm going to again do a chunky ribbing on the bottom here. And then I think I'm going to do a ribbing section all the way around here. Another thing that I do for the ribbing, and I'm not sure if everyone does this, but I prefer to go down a hook size. And I also have to show you the hook that I'm using, which my friend Michelle at Get Knit Faced NCO made this for me, this little custom hook. It is a clover hook here, and then she made the handle, and it's all glittery and pretty. And again, it's in my color palette here, the pinks and blues and purples, which I love. I will leave her link down below, but I had to show that off because it's just so stinking cute. It's also really comfortable to use as well. And I'm a little bit picky about my hooks. I've tried other hooks that have a resin handle and they're just like not that comfortable, but this one's really, really comfortable. and cute. So there you go. Anyway, I am hopefully going to finish this today, which I'm really excited about. I feel like sometimes with projects, I get to this point and I'm just like, I'm so ready to be done. I'm done looking at this. I'm just tired of it. And with this one, I don't feel that way, which is really exciting. Mainly, I just want to get it done because I want to wear this. So that's a really good feeling. So anyway, on to the crocheting, and we're gonna finish this up again, hopefully today. Okay, you guys, my cardigan is done and I love it so much. I really could not be happier with this. After I finished the sleeves and finished the ribbing, I did steam block this, which I don't know if I mentioned at any point in this video, but this yarn is 100% acrylic. So steam blocking is the way to go when it comes to acrylic yarn, which that's the way I've always done or always heard that you're supposed to steam block acrylic, which we'll get to the flaws of that method here in a minute, but I did do that, and I think that in the end it turned out just so stinking cute. Now, as I always have to mention, is it perfect? No, it does have a couple little quirks. One being that this side, for some reason, is looking a little bit looser, and I don't know if that comes down to tension because it's the same amount of stitches on both sides. So I don't know if it was tension or if it's possibly because of the steam blocking. Now, when it comes to methods of blocking, I really prefer wet blocking. I think it's just a little bit more precise. You can get things to the shape you want it to a little bit, again, more precisely than you can with steam blocking. With steam blocking, I think that it's really easy to accidentally get a little bit carried away because essentially what you're doing is like almost melting the plastic of the acrylic yarn, and it can be easy to accidentally mess up. So I think that's possibly what happened here. I don't actually really know. And I haven't washed this yet, so it's possible that after a good wash, it'll kind of shrink back down a little bit. I don't actually know. If you have any advice about that, let me know, but it's really not enough that it bothers me that much. The other flaw is that I did in fact make the cuffs too big, which I didn't notice as I was making it and trying it on. I thought it looked kind of fine, but then once all the other ribbing was done, I just realized that the cuffs looked too big. So my temporary solution was to do a running stitch through the top of the cuff, just right there on the inside. And then I just cinched it as much as I wanted it to, and then just tied that in a knot, which I don't usually like knots inside of my crochet garments, but it's really hidden enough that it's not bothering me. But a more permanent solution would be to do the same thing, but with elastic, because then it would still provide a nice amount of stretch, but cinch it in as much as I wanted it to. For now, this is working just fine, but I may end up doing that later. I've actually never done that before, but I've seen other people use elastic in the necklines of things or the cuffs or, other sections, or like with crochet skirts, people will crochet in some elastic. So it's something that I really want to try. But like I said, for now this works, but if it does end up kind of loosening up over time, I may end up doing that. Other than that though, I really like the way this looks. I love the way the colors came together. I love the contrast of the way that the colors look with the granny stitch and then the way that the colors look in the ribbing, and kind of unintentionally, this side looks like all purple and blue and then this side is mostly pink. And I actually think that that looks really, really good. I truly could not be happier with the way that the colors ended up. I was so nervous at first when I was doing the other stitch pattern. I was like, oh no, maybe I just don't like this yarn in general. But in the end, I mean, literally I could not be happier with the colors. Now, as far as this yarn goes, I really, really liked it. I liked crocheting with it. I love the texture in the end. It is so nice and soft. I feel like it has a pretty decent drape to it as well. and it comes with quite a bit of yardage per skein. And again, you can't beat these colors. They're so pretty, and there's so many different types of options for colors. Now, of course, this yarn does have some flaws, which I have already mentioned, but frogging is not easy and sewing is not easy with this yarn, but I am kind of willing to put up with some of that kind of stuff whenever something turns out as nice as this does. Now, would I want to make an amigurumi with this that requires a lot of sewing? Absolutely not. I did use 2 full skeins of this and then just a little bit of the third skein. Like, this looks actually almost completely unused. I really didn't use that much of it. So I will still have other projects I can make with this yarn. It's probably going to be hats, if I'm honest. I am still on my hat making craze, but I really do enjoy this yarn despite its flaws. I really am proud of myself for how far I've come in my garment making journey. It was something I was so intimidated by for so long, but I only made my first cardigan less than a year ago. It was in November of last year, and I feel like I've come a long way. I learned something new with every project, and I know that at least most of you really enjoy my vulnerabilities and showing you the process and showing you my mistakes and my solutions and all of that kind of stuff, because I really am just kind of learning as I go. But I do feel like in comparison to my first ever cardigan, I have really improved, and I think that this might be my favorite cardigan I've made so far, so that's awesome. I hope you enjoyed this cozy little video. I really enjoyed making it, really just slowing down and enjoying the process. I mean, grass was touched in this video, puzzles were puzzled, and I got to crochet, again, probably one of my favorite things I've ever made. So I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I hope you are enjoying your fall so far. Unless you are in the Southern Hemisphere, then I hope you're enjoying your spring. And thank you so much for watching. And as always, if you made it to this part of the video, I want to know, what were you working on as you watched today's video? Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to come hang out again. You can join my Patreon where I have bonus videos, exclusive patterns. You can get access to the Discord. And thank you again for watching. I'll see you next time.